Could international airline politics be trying to tactically make Airpeace to fail in its London to Lagos route? Could the British government be working to ensure that the London-Lagos route is maintained solely for the British Airways and the Virgin Atlantic, locking out any Nigerian airlines? Today, we shall analyze the maiden flight of Airpeace from London Gatwick Airport to Murtala Mohammed Airport in Lagos that happened on the 30th of March 2024, focusing on the international politics and the obstacles put in the way of Airpeace to try and sabotage their operations during their very first flight. Now, for those of you who may not know, Airpeace Limited is a private Nigerian airline founded in 2013. It has its head office in Ikeja, Lagos State, Nigeria. It is considered the largest airline in Nigeria and West Africa as a whole, and provides passenger and charter services to major cities in Nigeria, West Africa, and even the Middle East. It is owned by Allen Onyema, a Nigerian of the Igbo tribe. We shall break down this video into 3 parts: the pre-boarding operations, the in-flight experience, and the post-flight experience. Starting off with the pre-boarding operations, at first glance, it felt like the airport's ground operations were deliberately designed to make Airpeace look inefficient. Typically, ground operations are not in the hands of the airline, but rather in the hands of the airport. So these can easily go against the airport by design. Now, here are some reasons why we came to this conclusion. First, there were no signs of Airpeace check-in desk in the entire airport, and so it made passengers difficult to find the check-in zones. And even the check-in desk they were giving were located at the back, far away from the typical location and quite few number. And as you may have guessed, the passenger experience was very frustrating. Second, the check-in baggage belt was not even working. How embarrassing. Third, even the excess luggage operations, which is operated by a third-party company, was incredibly poor. The people handling this stuff were not cooperative, they were rude to passengers, and it almost felt like they were working against the airline, which is Airpeace. For an inaugural flight, these things should typically be sorted out and not meant to look terrible from day one. Imagine you were a customer or a passenger and you arrive at the airport to board a flight with excitement and anxiety, and you witness all of these things. The first thing that will come to your mind is that this airport is terrible. And by airport, you mean the airline, not knowing that the ground operations of Gatwick Airport is different from the airline itself, which is Airpeace. All of these challenges affected the brand and the image of Airpeace in the mind of many customers. Moving on to the in-flight experience, the captain and co-pilots were very professional. They walked the entire length and breadth of the plane, shaking customers and speaking to them. They spoke Pidgin English, a language peculiar to West Africa, which was refreshing, calming, and relaxing to the passengers and made them feel a sense of pride. The entire crew were Nigerians. At some point, there was some turbulence during the flight, but they handled it professionally and beautifully with finesse and style. The food was incredible. They served goat meat pepper soup as a starter, and the portions were large and filling with great flavor. There was jollof rice with chicken, and even stewed prawns. Almost makes me hungry right now. The place was very clean, bright, and decent in size. The hosts and hostesses were perfect. They responded to every need. If you pressed an assistance button, they were there immediately. And lastly, the post-flight experience. The air bridge was also very clean and worked very well during alighting from the aircraft. And by the time passengers cleared the customs and immigration, their bags already started to arrive on the conveyor belt without any hitches or hiccups about missing luggages or broken stuff. So far, you be the judge. It's almost like there is a contrast between the pre-boarding operations to the in-flight and post-flight experience. It's almost like black and white. Remember, Airpeace is not the first airline to attempt this London-Lagos route. Before Airpeace, there was Eric Air, Bellevue Air, and even Medview Airlines, all of which faced similar challenges and with international sabotage, ultimately leading to their downfall. Do you know why they do not want this flight to succeed for a Nigerian operation? It is one of the most lucrative routes for British Airways, only second to the London-New York route. Here are some numbers. London to Lagos is a 6-hour flight, and they charge up to £800 and £900 for an economy ticket. But London to New York, which is an 8-hour flight, the economy ticket goes for about £350 to £450 in low seasons. And during high seasons like the Easter, economy ticket to Lagos can go as high as £2,000, while for New York, it is about £600 to £700. You can see that those are impressive numbers. This highly lucrative route is to die for most of these companies. And so they frustrate anyone so that only the British Airlines, which is the British Airways and the Virgin Atlantic, can fly those routes. They would do anything possible to secure this route and fend off any local competitors coming in. So, what can Airpeace do to fortify its position, you may ask? Well, the management of Airpeace must seek to make this flight route a business-to-business flight, or rather still, a government-to-government flight. They need to sign an MOU with key ministers of Nigeria, the Minister of Trade and Investment and the Minister of Foreign Affairs. With these two ministers, along with the Minister for Aviation, the management of Airpeace can lock in government rights for this flight. They need to make it clear to the UK government what the repercussions will be if such underhand dealings continues. These chaps need to stand behind Alex Onyema to make this happen. Nigerians too need to make sure that Airpeace succeeds, especially Nigerians in the UK. They need to patronize the airline to ensure that the route remains Nigerian. There is a saying in Nigeria, buy the Naira to scroll the Naira. Well, in this case, fly the airline to grow the airline. In the past, the tactics of these international airlines was that once a Nigerian company, let's take for example, Eric Air, starts to fly that route, British Airways would drop its price down significantly in order to frustrate the profit of the Nigerian company. And once the Nigerian company goes south, they then jack up the price about 200% because they know that they have no more competitors on that route. It is therefore in the interest of Nigerians to ensure that Airpeace succeeds.